So, my friends and I have been hosting an Avatar The Last Airbender podcast, Pod Sing Se. Check us out at podsingsay.com and follow us on all your favorite podcast sites like Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple and Google Podcast, and more. And long story short, I've got this Air Nomad Fruit Pie cake thing on the brain. Monkey Otso called them cakes, but then later Aang called them pies.
Are you going to help me with these cakes or not?
What was the primary agricultural product of your people?
Are fruit pies an agricultural product?
Unless fruit pie is just the name they call their cake? Well, whatever. Now, I've seen a few different takes online of the Air Nomad fruit pies, ranging from actual fruit pies to giant mooncakes to curd and cheesecakes. Since one of the main influences on the Air Nomads is Tibetan monks, I tried looking up Tibetan desserts too, but the results were inconclusive. Based on what we see of the fruit pies in the Southern Air Temple, there are three main components. The darker part at the bottom, which is probably some sort of crust, the main section, and then the colorful filling. Every fan recipe I've looked at has piped this part on top of the cake at the end, but I had always assumed that it was the gooey center that Gyatso talks about.
The true secret is in the gooey center.
It's already there when Gyatso takes it out of the oven, and then he uses air bending to sort of whip it up, to aerate it, make it nice and fluffy. I guess fluffy and gooey aren't necessarily the same things. The cakes also have to be sort of gooey themselves, based on the way that they splatter onto the other monks' heads. No, I don't want to call it gooey. That sounds gross. Like, what's a better word? You know what I'm talking about. I do think that cheesecake is a logical direction. I mean, it looks just like a cheesecake to me, and we do see Gyatso taking it out of an oven, but it turns out my friends don't really like cheesecake. Insane. My whole family loves cheesecake. So I've been thinking about different possible bases for the fruit pies. And first of all, I've been seeing a lot of whipped cream as the swirl, but since I think that that part is the gooey center of the fruit pie, I think it's gotta be fruit flavored. So it could be like a fruit infused whipped cream or a fruit mousse, maybe, to make the gooey center part even more gooey. Maybe the center part inside the cake could be like a straight curd or a jam, and then pipe a more aerated substance with the same flavoring onto that. The main base could be cheesecake, or it could be mousse with like a whipped cream filling, so you don't just have mousse on mousse. Although, I guess most desserts are like that, aren't they? They're just like different layers of different flavors of mousse. Or it could be a pudding, like how in pudding pie you have pudding that's pretty thick, holds its shape. Or maybe a lemon curd with a blueberry mousse filling. Oh man, that sounds so good. I want to try all of those. So because I'm just gonna make this for me, basically, I'm still gonna try a cheesecake base. And I don't actually have any graham crackers, so what I'm gonna do is use some like brownie brittle and some brown sugar and some melted butter to make my base. It's gonna be a little darker than the fruit pies actually look because it's this brownie brittle instead of graham crackers, but I mean, whatever. It's gonna taste good, I think. So I just mash those up, put them in the bottoms of my little pans. Now my pans, by the way, I put some parchment paper on the bottom and then a strip of parchment paper on the side, so hopefully that'll help it in the future when I'm taking them out. Anyway, next step, and this is just a recipe I sort of found online and then minimized because I only have one stick of cream cheese. I'm gonna make a no-bake cheesecake here, which I know I just said that Monkey Otso baked the cakes, but too much effort. So I whip some cream, I combine my cream cheese, a bit of sour cream, a little bit of vanilla extract. The recipe calls for lemon juice too, but I didn't do that because of reasons. And then I fold the whipped cream into the cream cheese mixture. And the recipe said to use a piping bag to put it in the pans. I don't really know why. I think a spoon is probably fine, but, when in Rome. So I'm using shot glasses to try to keep a little hollow in the center of my cakes that I'm going to put the gooey center into later. Because, as I said before, I don't want to just pipe something on the top. I want it to go into the inside. And I didn't really make that much filling, but you know, whatever. It's sort of enough. So we'll see how this turns out. I've never actually made no-bake cheesecake before. Alright, so my next step is to make that lovely gooey center fruit flavored filling. So not really with any solid recipe, I decided to try to make this blueberry lemon curd. We only had one lemon in the fridge, which is why I didn't use any lemon juice in the cheesecake portion of it. I made all the juice and zested the lemon for this, and I also dug all the frozen blueberries out of a nearly empty batch of frozen berries that we had. No measurements. Add some sugar. We didn't have a double boiler, so I just sort of like faked it by putting a frying pan on top of another frying pan. But the double boiler thing is so that you don't make scrambled eggs when you add the egg to thicken the curd. At least that's what I think. I've never made curd before, but I read a bunch of curd recipes and I just sort of combined them. And hoped would turn out for the best. And it does actually turn out pretty well. It's just the fruit and some sugar and then the egg and some butter, really, that you cook on this like low double boiler type of heat so that the eggs will cook without, you know, becoming solid. And then you strain it so that you miss all that gunky cooked egg and lemon seeds and all that shit. And you get a nice smooth curd that is gonna be the flavoring. And look at that, such a beautiful color too. It's just like the pies. I'm so excited. Alrighty, so for aerating my flavored curd in order to make it into a mousse, once again, I had no idea what I was doing. I read a bunch about making mousse, and they said that the most common aerators are like egg with yolk mixtures, whipped cream, and also meringues, which are like whipped egg whites. And that the yolks are the most stable, then the whipped cream, then the meringues. When you combine all three, which people sometimes will only use one, but if you combine all three, you add them in order from most stable to least stable, and you just fold them gently in. You don't mix them too much because you don't want to beat out all the air. And I was like, okay, sounds easy enough. So I started out with my yolks. I did the double boiler trick again to make sure I was heating all my eggs to safe temperatures before I started trying to whip them and work with them. And basically, I then started trying to whip them all up. The yolks first, and then the cream, and then the whites. Because I wanted to go from most stable to least stable. And I add cream of tartar to the whites when I'm mixing them, because I want them to be stable. Basically, yeah, I'm just trying to make my bases right now. But, you'll see how that goes. In fact, you already have a hint, because I put a big failed sign up on the title card. I'm so tired. I don't know why this isn't working. The whipped cream is not whipping. The meringue is not peaking. I don't know why. I don't know why. I've started over multiple times. I've cleaned all the tools thoroughly. I chilled the tools of the cream first. I literally made whipped cream earlier today for the cakes. I don't know why it's not working. Alright, I'm really tired. and I want to go to bed. So the plan was to take my blueberry lemon curd here and infuse it with these aerators. I was going to do a triple aerator of the egg, the whipped cream, and meringue. Now, I have a tiny bit of advantage because the fact that I was doing eggs at all was only because I read that they were, like, yolk stuff was more stable, most stable than whipped cream, than meringue. Whipped cream, definitely more stable than meringue is. But for some reason, I can't whip cream. I did manage the meringue. The problem I was having with this one was that I didn't have enough egg white. I did only one egg white, and it was too shallow. I couldn't really get air into it. I had to add a second egg white. I added the other egg yolk in this one too. So there's a little more volume in those than I originally had. I tried the same trick with the whipped cream. For some reason it didn't work. I have no idea why my cream isn't whipping, considering that I literally made whipped cream using the exact same method earlier today. Anyway, new plan. I'm going to try to do this with only the egg stuff because I don't want to try to add non-whipped whipped cream to it. It'll just turn it sludgy. And I'll put it into my cheesecakes and I'll let them set overnight in the fridge. I added a little more cream of tartar to the meringue to try to make it extra stiff. Well, I'll judge it tomorrow, but for now I'm gonna just try to make this filling. So yeah, after that depressing sleep-deprived speech in which I basically repeat everything I just said in the voiceover, I'm putting my filling into the cakes. Preserve at least some of that nice good old blueberry lemon curd with its beautiful color and all that stuff before risking trying to aerate it at all with my iffy ingredients. Here you can see the insides, the filling on the insides of my cakes. And then here I go trying to add my stabilizers. Bet you can guess how this is gonna turn out. And it's runny. Why is it runny? I want it to be solid. And it's lost its beautiful color. It has the beautiful color in the solid version. I shouldn't have done this. I messed it up. I messed it up somehow. Okay. New plan again. I'm gonna put this in the fridge by itself. And hopefully in the morning it'll be solid enough for me to then pipe and not to be a horrible mess. I just don't know. I just don't know why nothing's working tonight. It was all going so well until like the last step, and I don't know why. It looks terrible now. I'm so upset. And you can see in the morning, this sad mousse did not set up. Some small parts of it on the surface are kind of meringue-like solid, but not the whole thing. You can see all the liquid dripping, and it just looks like some sort of disgusting sludge. It's not the same beautiful purple color that it had naturally from the fruit, amazingly, that totally matched the cartoon. But here's the cake without that last part. There's the beautiful crust and the base and this lovely gooey fruit center filling. So yeah, it's about 2/3 of the way there to an Air Nomad cake. Just missing the air element. But, you know, it tasted pretty good. Hopefully I'll have better luck next time. Maybe if I can whip my cream.